Ferrari released their 2022 F175, and whilst it definitely made an impact both in terms of its livery and also in terms of its aero design, Ferrari will be hoping that it will also make an impact on the track and help them become consistent race winners and possibly fight for the championship as well. I think it's more than fair to say that in the build-up to this season, there has been lots of hype, excitement, expectation, whatever word you want to use. Fans are ready to see Ferrari come back to the top, with many people having Ferrari as their title favourites ahead of the season. But why are the expectations so high for Ferrari, and is the hype actually real? Or are people like me just overhyping Ferrari in 2022 because they're Ferrari? In terms of the car itself, what I find really funny is that I was already planning and writing this video well before the car was released, but after the F175 was unveiled, the general feeling on social media is that people really love the look and design of the car, and quite honestly, I think the hype actually got even bigger for their 2022 season. A quick word on the car from me, since I didn't do a reaction video, is that I am a big fan. I love the livery. I think the way they've integrated more black into it has been done really well in terms of making the front wing, the rear wing, and the bottom of the car with the floor all black. I think it really plays nicely into some of their most beautiful and iconic looking cars from the late 80s and early 90s, which also had a very heavy red and black theme. The only thing that I think could have been done a little bit better is the integration of the black at the top of the shark fin underneath the 75. Ferrari have been really into their gradients over the past few seasons, and that's the only part that I think just looks a little bit odd compared to the rest of it, which is actually very cohesive. As far as the aero, from all of the things that I have read and watched from real aerodynamicists and experts, there's certainly been a lot of intrigue and even a bit of skepticism about some of Ferrari's bold ideas. Giorgio Piola of Autosport described Ferrari's unique front nose design as radical and something that Formula 1 has never seen before. Gary Anderson of the race felt that the F175 was disjointed with all of its bold aero ideas. And there's also a fantastic in-depth breakdown right here on YouTube by ex-Mercedes aerodynamicist Kyle on his channel Kyle Engineers, which I would thoroughly recommend and which will be linked in the description below. The one good thing about having an ex-technical director as the team principal is that Matteo Binotto was really able to give more substance when talking about the technical side of their new car. He really emphasized that whilst the aero rules are the thing that most people will be looking at, Ferrari has worked equally as hard on the power unit during the winter break, bringing in lots of innovation to make sure that the car works well as a package. And in closing, he said that this was a brave Ferrari and that the team really worked hard to think different and out of the box for 2022. Ferrari themselves know that enough is enough. They need to be challenging further up the grid, but is all of this expectation and hype going to be too much? And will it ultimately backfire on the team if they don't live up to the hype? Before we get to that, however, the one thing that definitely will live up to the hype is Manscaped, who are the sponsor of today's video. Now, to all of the guys out there, Manscaped is the global leader in high-quality grooming and hygiene products for men who trust Manscaped to give them the right tools for the job, like with their brand new Performance Package 4.0 kit. Inside this all-in-one kit, you can find their new signature Lawnmower 4.0 electric trimmer, which has been carefully designed to not only be waterproof, but to also give you the best results possible whilst reducing any cuts or nicks on your most sensitive parts. On top of that, the kit also includes their Ball Preserver deodorant and Crop Reviver spray, which will give you all-day body odor protection, along with an essential nose and ear hair trimmer as well. Head over to manscaped.com by clicking my link at the very top of the description and use my code ALDAS to get 20% off with free shipping. Keep yourself fresh and clean with no regrets. And once again, a big thank you to Manscaped. Now, when it comes to the hype around Ferrari, as we've seen, the team itself is not exactly playing down their expectations and talking about just improving and getting better from where they were last year. They're talking about winning races and potentially having the best car on the field. Now, to me, that is exactly what a team like Ferrari should be doing, because I think it motivates the team ahead of the new season, and the drivers in the team need to have that confidence that, at least on paper, before we see how all of the other teams stack up, that they will be going into the season with a title-challenging mentality. Now, apart from the team itself, the question of are Ferrari being overhyped is one that I've actually seen quite a lot. Now, many fans and content creators, including myself, have jumped hard on the Ferrari hype train, and for anyone that's already seen my early 2022 season predictions, which I decided to do blind at the beginning of the year, spoiler alert, in case you haven't seen it already, then go and watch it now, but if you have seen it, you will know that I predicted Charles Leclerc as my 2022 Drivers' Champion, and I'm also not the only content creator on YouTube to head down the Ferrari route. Now, one of the reasons why I decided to do my predictions blind with absolutely zero knowledge about the teams and the cars for 2022 is because it's simply just more fun that way, and it also means that it's going to be more fun when I look back at the end of 2022 and see just how wrong I was. But one thing that I have started to see on social media and even in the comments of that video is people being critical of people like me hyping up Ferrari just because they're Ferrari. And that is a totally fair point. There is no doubt that me personally, I want to see Ferrari do well, and I truly believe that unlike most of the other teams, they have the resources, they have the personnel, and they have the drivers to live up to the hype and get back on the level of a Mercedes and Red Bull. I also think it's worth remembering that even at this stage, Ferrari theoretically should be the team in the best possible position to get back to the top. Now, we don't know where McLaren are now, and you never know, maybe McLaren will be the team to be in 2022. But again, theoretically, McLaren is a team that has had a huge restructuring since its McLaren Honda days, and they're still trying to return to being a top team that's capable of consistent race wins, and something that they haven't been able to do since 2012. The teams lower down like Aston Martin and Alpine also feel like they're not quite there yet. Alpine are a team which to me, quite honestly, have been shaky regardless of their name, and although they have a good driver pairing, I still think that there is a lot that that team needs to prove in terms of actually building a good car. And when it comes to Aston Martin, I think that there is a lot to be excited about, and I actually believe more in them than I do Alpine to close the gap. But all of their massive growth over the past year, I think it needs time to bed in before we really see them push the likes of Ferrari or McLaren. That's why to me, Ferrari are the clear favourites to at least close the gap to Mercedes and Red Bull, and if there are any slip-ups from those two, it should be Ferrari to take advantage. Unlike the other teams lower down, they're not in a rebuilding phase or in a massive phase of development with more people and bigger infrastructure being made. Ferrari's rebuilding phase was in 2020 and 2021, and unlike the other teams, there is literally nothing stopping them from being the best team in 2022. The only slight hurdle which is true of all of the really big teams is potentially the budget cap. However, Ferrari, just like Mercedes and Red Bull, have already made the necessary adjustments last year. For example, Ferrari had to downsize and transfer some of their people over to Haas to meet the cap, so instead of them losing their jobs, they instead are now part of the Haas team as they expand. However, Ferrari still needs to be very careful because whilst the likes of Williams and Haas are still trying to even reach the budget cap, Ferrari are trying to make sure that they don't go over it. The team also have a few questions on an operational front. Matteo Binotto needs to prove that he can guide this team to a championship, and when only one of his drivers can win the driver's title, that will then really put him to the test of how he manages that whole situation. And then the team itself. Things like the pit stop strategy, when you fight for a title, all of that gets put under a massive microscope, and that might also reveal some weaknesses in the Ferrari chain, which we've definitely seen not too long ago. But I also don't want to be too downbeat as well, because this is not the Ferrari of 2017 or 2018. They deserve the benefit of the doubt, and they deserve a chance to prove themselves and show that they are strategically and operationally on a par with Red Bull and Mercedes. The funny part is that I haven't even mentioned their current drivers, because there's nothing really to talk about. Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz are ready to win a championship right now. If they were in cars that had relatively similar pace to the Red Bull and Mercedes last year, they would have definitely challenged Lewis and Max. The fact that it is so close, and the fact that we don't even know which one of them two would actually win a world championship in the same car, just shows that Ferrari have probably the strongest driver lineup on the grid. Now, of course, we still need to see them under the pressure of fighting for a title, because fighting for wins is one thing, but going toe-to-toe with Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen, yeah, that is a whole different level that Sainz and Leclerc are yet to experience. So, are Ferrari being overhyped? Honestly, I don't think so. I think people think that they're being overhyped because they've been in the midfield for the last few years, but let's not forget and let's not get it twisted. They are not a midfield team doing a decent job of climbing their way back up. They are a top team just like Mercedes and Red Bull, and probably even bigger than Red Bull in terms of size and infrastructure, but they're a top team that's been massively under-delivering, but still has that top team DNA and all of the other benefits that come along with being Ferrari in Formula 1, which I won't get into in this video. But there is nothing, absolutely nothing, stopping that team from challenging for the world title. Of course, in classic Ferrari style, if Formula 1 championships were won on hype, expectation, and how red your livery was, Ferrari would win every single year, but it's not. Winning titles takes a strong management structure who make the tough decisions, even if they're not popular, a technical team that can adapt and innovate ahead of the other teams, and it takes a driver or two in the case of Ferrari who can actually go out and do the business. That's what Ferrari have to do, and it's time for the hype and talking to stop, and it's time for that team to actually start living up to their name and start delivering. Well, there you have it, another video wrapped up. I hope you did enjoy this one, and if you did, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel, that would be greatly appreciated. And once again, a big thank you to Manscaped for sponsoring this video. Don't forget to use my code Aldas or check out the link at the very top of the description to get 20% off plus free shipping. So once again, a big thank you to Manscaped. Anyway, I will see you in the next one.